All I ever wanted was to be an ordinary college student, but ever since I got bound to this bizarre system, my life had changed completely. It never cared whether I studied or worked out. The only thing it was interested in was forcing me to spend money. On my very first day of college registration, the system handed me 10 million yuan in startup funds and immediately issued my first mission. Establish your status in the freshman group chat. Mission reward: 1 brand new, latest model Lamborghini. As luck would have it, someone in the freshman chat asked, "Does the university have a parking lot? I just bought a car, and I have no idea where to leave it." I saw my opening and casually typed, "Guys, I'm driving a Lamborghini to registration today. You think that's a little too flashy?" Someone immediately jumped in to mock me. "Bring the Lamborghini first. I'll have my family helicopter pick you up when you get here." Another person piled on. Believing he owns a Lamborghini is about as realistic as believing I'm the richest man in the world. Since no one believed me, I did not bother explaining. I simply dropped a 100.000 yuan digital red envelope into the group chat. The entire chat exploded a second later. At the same moment, the system chimed inside my head. Mission complete. Reward delivered. A brand new car key appeared out of nowhere in my pocket. The system informed me that a black Lamborghini was waiting in the underground parking garage at the train station. I ran my fingers over the key, grinning from ear to ear. Just then, Shinshina, a girl who had arrived on the same train as me, suddenly said, "Why don't we get a cab to the university together?" Shinshina was widely considered the prettiest girl in our freshman class. She was beautiful and elegant. In the moment she had entered our train car, every eye in the compartment had turned toward her. Fan Tong, who was standing nearby, immediately pulled out an Audi key. "Why take a cab? I left my car at the station too. Shina, ride with me." Then he deliberately glanced at me and added with a sneer, "As for this guy, he'd be lucky to own an electric scooter. Even if he has a car, it's probably some beat-up old junker." Shinshina ignored him completely. After hearing that I also had a car, she became even more determined to go with me. That gave me a headache. I had never even driven the Lamborghini myself, and its storage space was pitifully small. She had a huge suitcase. If it scratched the new car, I would be heartbroken. The moment the train arrived, I hurried toward the underground parking garage. Fan Tong eagerly carried Shinshina's luggage for her, but she stamped her foot in frustration, grabbed the suitcase, and chased after me. She had probably never met a guy who turned her down before. The more I refused her, the more determined she became to ride in my car. The three of us met again by the elevator in the underground garage. Shinshina puffed out her cheeks. "Are you taking me to the university or not?" I sighed. "It's not that I don't want to. My car is genuinely tiny inside. You're going to be cramped." Now she was digging in her heels. "Even if you're riding a rental bike, I'm getting on with you today." Fan Tong stood beside us, glaring at me as if he wanted to burn me to ashes. When the elevator doors opened, he immediately pressed his key fob. An Audi A4 flashed its lights in the distance. Fan Tong walked over smugly and opened the passenger door for Shinshina. "Shina, get in. What car could this broke kid possibly have?" Shinshina did not even look at him. Fan Tong started getting anxious. "This is peak arrival time. You'll never get a cab. Riding with me is obviously the easiest option." Shinshina stepped over to me and asked suspiciously, "You don't actually have a car, do you?" "It's okay. I'll call one, and we can go together." She took out her phone as she spoke. I finally gave in. "All right. Stop. Don't call a car. You can ride with me." Shinshina looked around. There were almost no other cars in that section of the garage, only a black Lamborghini parked in the center. I took out the key and lightly pressed the button. The Lamborghini's headlights flashed twice. Shinshina froze on the spot. Fan Tong looked as if someone had grabbed him by the throat. The smugness vanished from his face instantly. I opened the driver's door and said calmly, "What are you still standing there for? Get in." Then I walked to the front and opened the storage compartment, looking at the miserable amount of space inside. I pushed the suitcase back toward Shinshina. "I told you the car was too small. Your suitcase won't even fit. You'll have to hold it on your seat." Still dazed by the shock, Shinshina climbed into the car almost on autopilot. When I wrapped my hands around the steering wheel and the V12 engine roared to life, I could not stop myself from smiling. The feeling was beyond incredible. Fan Tong, sitting in his Audi, was completely dumbfounded. He finally understood that the only clown in that parking garage had been him. The black Lamborghini pulled out of the station, gleaming brilliantly in the sunlight. Other cars instinctively gave it space. Pedestrians kept turning their heads to stare at its sleek body and listen to the growl of its engine. Honestly, my hands were trembling on the steering wheel. I had only gotten my driver's license 4 days earlier, and this was my first time behind the wheel of a supercar like this. After passing through an intersection, I suddenly noticed several supercars racing ahead of us. A red Ferrari was in front. It weaved through traffic like an enraged beast while several other cars chased close behind, all of them acting as if traffic laws did not exist. The woman driving the Ferrari was Lin Wanqing, a famous and stunning race car driver with a huge online following. She was not only beautiful, she was also a legitimate professional racer. At that moment, she was live streaming, and her viewers were losing their minds. Wanqing is insane. She's doing 200 kilometers an hour with one hand on the wheel. She isn't even trying yet. She's just waiting for the cars behind her. Quit acting tough from behind a keyboard. Let's see you do it. While the live stream chat argued, the red Ferrari pulled up beside my Lamborghini. Lin Wanqing lowered her window, shot me a challenging look, and stepped on the gas, making the engine roar. I had no intention of getting involved in dangerous street racing. Unfortunately, the system chose that exact moment to speak. Warning: the host has been challenged. New mission: defeat the opponent in a race. Mission reward: 100% ownership of Orwan Group. Failure penalty: severe constipation. I almost swore out loud. Why did every punishment from this system have to involve my digestive system? I protested silently. I got my license 4 days ago, and you want me to race a professional driver? The system replied. Insufficient driving experience detected. Temporary professional racing legend experience card issued. Duration: 10 minutes. Countdown initiated. 9 minutes. 58 seconds. In the next instant, I felt as if I had become one with the Lamborghini. The steering wheel, accelerator, brakes, tire grip. Every piece of information seemed to be carved directly into my mind. I rolled down my window and gave Lin Wanqing the same challenging look. The livestream chat erupted. Who's in the black Lamborghini? He's that young and he still dares challenge Wanqing? He's probably some rich kid who thinks buying a nice car makes him unbeatable. Hold on. The girl in his passenger seat is gorgeous. Lin Wanqing curled her lips into a smile and pointed toward the traffic light ahead, signaling that the race would begin when it turned green. The light changed. Both cars launched at the same time, shooting forward like shells fired from cannons. Lin Wanqing's expression changed. My start was nearly flawless, and she immediately realized I was no ordinary beginner. She floored the accelerator, quickly passed 150 kilometers per hour, and temporarily pulled ahead. But before long, she checked her rearview mirror and discovered that the black Lamborghini was still right behind her. This was one of the busiest roads in the entire city. Only a true professional could maintain that speed through such dense traffic. I quickly pulled alongside her, then accelerated again. 200 kilometers per hour. 240 kilometers per hour. An extremely dangerous hairpin turn appeared ahead. Lin Wanqing immediately hit the brakes, planning to slow down and then accelerate out of the turn. To her shock, my brake lights never came on. Is he out of his mind? The Lamborghini charged into the turn at terrifying speed. The centrifugal force nearly lifted the tires on the left side off the road, and the car looked ready to roll at any second. At the last possible moment, the tires on the other side caught the edge of the guardrail with perfect precision. The car seemed to slide along it like a train on a track, taking the corner at an almost impossible angle before landing steadily back on all 4 wheels. The live stream went completely silent for several seconds. Lin Wanqing stared in disbelief. When she finally recovered, she drifted beautifully through the turn and tried to catch up so she could see who I was. But by the time she rounded the corner, the black Lamborghini had vanished without a trace. The livestream chat exploded. That's a real racing god. The black Lamborghini is the true king of the road. How did he even make that turn? I knew nothing about the reaction online. I simply slowed down on purpose so I would not attract any more trouble. The system soon chimed again. Mission complete. 100% ownership of Orwan Group has been transferred to the host. New mission: spend 10 million yuan within 3 days. Success reward: 50 million yuan. Failure penalty: severe constipation. I pressed a hand to my forehead and nearly lost it. Spending 10 million yuan in 3 days sounded amazing, but the system had all kinds of restrictions on how the money could be spent. It was clearly not going to be that simple. We soon arrived at Nanfang University. Freshman registration was underway, and the main gate was packed with students and parents. Several upperclassmen claimed they were there to welcome new students, but most of them were really just checking out the pretty freshman girls. Among the welcome volunteers was a sweet-looking upperclassman named Sun Yen Yen. She pointed at a luxury car that had just stopped and told her friend, "There are so many rich kids in this year's freshman class. Look, that isn't an ordinary Mercedes. It's a Maybach. And those things cost a fortune." The door opened, and a young man in flashy clothes stepped out. His name was Gu Ziyu, and arrogance was written all over his face. A beautiful girl climbed out from the passenger side and immediately opened a black umbrella to shade him from the sun. Gu Ziyu was just about to bask in everyone's envious stares when a loud crash came from behind him. An electric scooter with failed brakes had slammed directly into the rear of the Maybach. Gu Ziyu's face went white. The car was his father's pride and joy. He had begged and pestered him for days just to borrow it and show off at school. His father agonized over even the smallest scratch. With the rear end damaged like this, Gu Ziyu knew he was in serious trouble when he got home. He stormed over and found a girl sitting on the ground. Her name was Yashur. She wore simple clothes and clutched her injured knee. Trembling in fear, she cried, "I'm sorry. I really didn't do it on purpose. The scooter's brakes suddenly failed. I can pay you for the repairs in installments." Gu Ziyu shouted, "Do you even know what kind of car this is? It's a Maybach. A single part could cost hundreds of thousands of yuan. How are you supposed to pay for it?" Yashur's face was pale. "I don't have that much money right now. I can sign an IOU and pay you back little by little." When Gu Ziyu noticed how pretty she was, a filthy idea suddenly entered his mind. He deliberately inflated the repair bill to 180,000 yuan and planned to use the IOU to pressure her into becoming his girlfriend. The people watching could not stand it and began urging Yashur not to sign. "Once you sign an IOU like that, he'll have leverage over you forever." It was one small collision. There's no way the repairs cost that much. Gu Ziyu glared at the crowd. "It isn't your car. If you're all so compassionate, why don't you pay for her?" Yashur was so frightened that tears streamed down her face. Gu Ziyu had already thrust the paper and pen in front of her. Just as she was about to write her name, the low rumble of an engine approached from a distance. The black Lamborghini slowly rolled into the crowd. Every pair of eyes turned toward it. I lowered the window and motioned for the people blocking the parking space to move. "Excuse me. I need to park." The moment Gu Ziyu recognized the car, he did not dare say another harsh word. He quickly stepped aside. The scissor doors rose into the air. Chinchina and I stepped out, drawing a wave of gasps from the crowd. "Now that is a real rich kid. And the girl beside him is gorgeous. She has to be campus beauty level." I had planned to walk away, but the system issued another mission. Random mission. One good deed a day. Help the girl in front of you escape her predicament. Mission reward. Permanent world-class racing skills. No penalty for failure. After experiencing professional-level driving skills, I knew exactly how valuable that reward was. I stopped immediately, turned around, and asked, "What happened here?" The people nearby all started explaining at once. My first thought was to pay the damages for Yashur and make progress on my mission to spend 10 million yuan. But the system immediately warned me that simply donating money to someone else did not count as personal spending. By then, Yashur had lowered her head and said, "I'll sign the IOU. Just please don't call the police." Gu Ziyu smiled smugly and handed her the paper and pen. Just as she put pen to paper, I snatched it away. "Wait." I ran over to a nearby repairman, paid him for a large sledgehammer, and returned under the stunned eyes of everyone present. Gu Ziyu's face turned pale. "What are you planning to do?" I did not answer. I swung the sledgehammer and smashed it into the Maybach's windshield. Crash! The glass instantly splintered into a spiderweb, and the hood caved in as well. Gu Ziyu lunged at me like a madman. "Stop! That's my dad's car." I lowered the hammer, spread my hands, and pretended to be innocent. "Sorry." My hand slipped. Everyone could tell I had done it on purpose. Gu Ziyu's eyes went red with rage. "I'm calling the police. I'll have you thrown in jail," I said calmly. "Go ahead. But once the police arrive, the insurance company will determine the actual damages. Then you probably won't get a single yuan of the 180,000 you were trying to extort from her." Gu Ziyu knew he was in the wrong, but the car had already been smashed, and he did not dare return home empty-handed. Gritting his teeth, he said, "Pay me 500,000 yuan." I frowned. He thought I considered it too expensive and immediately sneered. What's wrong? You were acting so tough a moment ago. Now you hear 500,000 and you're scared? In reality, I thought it was too little. That amount was nowhere close to the 10 million yuan I had to spend within 3 days. Without explaining, I paid 10,000 yuan to buy a cup of soda from a girl nearby, opened the hood, and poured the entire drink into the engine compartment. Now the Maybach was completely ruined. I tore out a check and handed it to Guziyu. Here's 1 million yuan. The wreck belongs to me now. Keep the change. Then I looked at Yashir. The car is mine now. So you don't owe anyone anything. Go finish your registration. I turned and walked toward the university gate. The crowd fell silent at first, then erupted in astonishment. He spent 1 million yuan on a wreck just to save a stranger? He's not only rich, he's actually a good person. Isn't he basically the male lead in a web novel? The way Sun Yin looked at me changed as well. Within moments, several female upperclassmen from the welcome team crowded around me. Freshman, this campus is huge. Let me take you to your dorm. Freshman, I have cold drinks in my room. Want to rest there first? Don't listen to her. Her legs are short. Mine are long. So I can get you there faster. Their overenthusiasm pushed Shinshina to the back of the crowd. I had only wanted a quiet college life, but I had become the center of attention on my very first day. To escape, I had no choice but to show them my friend request QR code. My phone kept chiming, and within seconds I had dozens of friend requests from pretty upperclassmen. When the crowd finally dispersed, Shinshina walked over with a half smile. Look at you, celebrity. You're awfully popular today. I shrugged helplessly. Being too handsome is a burden. She rolled her eyes. They were obviously interested in your Lamborghini. Then she added more softly. Thanks for bringing me to the university. Are you free tonight? I'd like to buy you dinner at the cafeteria. It was the first time she had ever invited a guy to dinner. I nodded. Sure. Message me tonight. At that moment, the system chimed. One good deed a day mission complete. Permanent world-class racing skills issued. Basic system missions complete. System upgraded to version 2.0. Bonus rewards. World-class combat experience card and major increase in charisma. A strange surge of energy flowed through my body. My back straightened, and the lines of my shoulders, chest, and abdomen changed within moments. My facial features did not seem noticeably different, yet somehow I had become far more attractive. Shinshina was about to speak, but when her eyes landed on my face, her heartbeat suddenly quickened and her cheeks flushed. Girls passing by stopped in their tracks one after another. Who is that? Is he a celebrity? How can anyone be that handsome? Several of them immediately pulled out their phones to take pictures. My scalp tingled with unease. The system had said it would increase my charisma. It had not warned me that I would become a rare animal everyone wanted to stare at. After walking Shinshina to the women's dormitory, I followed my housing assignment to the men's dorm. By then, Fan Tong had quietly parked his Audi in a remote corner of campus. After the humiliation in the underground garage, he no longer wanted to drive it around and show off. He was even seriously considering buying an ordinary electric scooter and keeping a low profile from then on. He returned to the room and was making his bed when he heard the door open. Assuming it was his new roommate, he turned around enthusiastically. Hey, roomie. He froze halfway through the sentence. The person standing in the doorway was me. The guy with the Lamborghini. Fan Tong's face went white. Why are you in my room? You're not my new roommate. Are you? I recognized him too and smiled. Your Audi must be pretty fast. You beat me to the dorm. Fan Tong forced out an awkward smile. Come on. Bro, don't make fun of me. You're this rich, why are you living in a regular dorm? I spread my hands. College students live in dorms. Isn't that normal? Fan Tong suddenly remembered the freshman group chat and widened his eyes. Wait. The guy who sent the 100,000 yuan red envelope and said he was driving a Lamborghini to registration, that was you too? I nodded. I wanted to send more, but the app had a limit. At those words, Fan Tong's knees gave out. He dropped to the floor, wrapped his arms around my leg, and cried, Boss, from today on, you're my real big brother. Please let me be your guy. He startled me. Get up. We're roommates. You don't have to do this. He refused to let go no matter what. He knew I had witnessed everything at the station. If I posted the story of how he had shown off his Audi only to get humiliated by a Lamborghini on the campus forum, his social life at the university would be over. Still clinging to my leg, Fan Tong promised, I'll bring you tea, run errands, make your bed. Anything. If you won't accept me as your little brother, I'm not getting up today. While we were making a scene, the dorm room door opened again. A student in a mask dragged in a suitcase. It was Gu Ziyu, the owner of the Maybach from the university gate. He had deliberately entered through the back gate because he was afraid someone would recognize him. When he saw Fan Tong kneeling on the floor and calling me boss, he secretly looked down on him. Young people these days have no backbone. They call anyone brother or dad. But the moment he saw that I was the person Fan Tong was kneeling in front of, his own legs went weak. Thud. Gu Ziyu dropped to his knees too. Boss, take me in as your little brother too. The entire room fell silent. Fan Tong looked at Gu Ziyu, then at me, and quickly understood. This new roommate was the Maybach rich kid I had publicly put in his place at the gate that morning. Gu Ziyu said miserably, Boss, your name is Xiaoyan, right? I was ignorant this morning and didn't realize who you were. We're going to be brothers from now on. Can we put what happened behind us? Fan Tong immediately backed him up. Exactly. Every dorm needs a leader, and no one but you is qualified. I had no interest in holding a grudge, so I waved my hand. Get up. If we're living together, we're brothers. What happened before ends here. Both of them let out a breath of relief. Their greatest fear was that I would keep using their past embarrassment against them. When they saw that I had no intention of taking revenge, they became even more determined to treat me as their boss. Fan Tong looked around the room, noticed that I had come empty-handed, and immediately asked, Boss, where's your luggage? I'll unpack it for you. I didn't bring any. Both of them stared again. Gu Ziyu sighed in admiration. That's what real wealth looks like. You bring nothing when you travel and buy everything new when you arrive. Then his eyes shifted as an idea came to him. Boss, I know a shop that custom makes high-end bedding. Their mattresses are extremely expensive, but the quality is top tier. The moment I heard extremely expensive, my eyes lit up. I had been worrying about how to spend 10 million yuan within 3 days. Apparently, both of my roommates were experts at wasting money. Call them now, I said. Money isn't an issue. Just get the best. Gu Ziyu immediately called the store. Prepare 3 sets of your most expensive mattresses. They need to fit in a university dorm, and I want them delivered before tonight. The manager recognized his identity but still spoke with contempt. Young Master Gu, our most expensive mattresses are outside your usual spending range. Your family only owns a few massage parlors. You should look at the standard models. Humiliated in front of us. Gu Ziyu flushed with anger. Watch your tone. You're about to lose a major sale. The manager sneered. With your purchasing power, you're not in a position to talk about major business with me. Gu Ziyu hung up and called the owner of the brand directly to complain. When the owner heard that it was merely a problem with an employee's attitude, he said impatiently, Take a minor issue like that to the regional manager. I don't have time for it. I had heard enough. I took the phone from Gu Ziyu. I need 3 of your most expensive mattresses, the ones that cost 1 million yuan each. If you won't sell them to me, I'll buy another brand. The moment the owner heard 1 million yuan each, his tone changed completely. Sir, are you referring to our royal collection, filled with purebred horsehair and hand-stitched with gold thread? Yes. The owner launched into an endless explanation of the craftsmanship. I did not care. I only asked, can you deliver all 3 today? The owner hesitated. Products like these are handmade to order. They require time. I named my price. I'll pay you 4 million yuan total. The extra million is for speed. Deliver them to Nanfang University before tonight. The other end of the line went silent for 2 seconds. The owner nearly fell out of his chair. Other people bought mattresses one at a time after careful comparison. I was ordering 3 at once as casually as buying vegetables, then voluntarily paying an extra million yuan for rush delivery. He immediately promised, Rest assured, sir, they will arrive before dark. As for the manager who spoke rudely to you, we'll fire him immediately. He did not even ask what the manager had done. Employees could be replaced. A customer like this might never appear again. I added, use the highest grade sheets, pillows, and duvet covers too. After the call ended, Gu Ziyu and Fan Tong looked at me as if I were some kind of deity. Meanwhile, once the 4 million yuan payment arrived, the brand owner immediately called the factory and ordered every production line to suspend its other work and prioritize 3 royal collection mattresses in university dorm dimensions. The factory employees worked overtime and finished them within a few hours. Then the owner had another thought. The buyer was a college freshman. and young people loved a spectacle. If someone had spent 4 million yuan on mattresses, the delivery had to be impressive enough to match. So at 5 that afternoon, just as students were getting ready to head to the cafeteria, a Bentley slowly entered the campus. 12 identical Mercedes sedans followed behind it in perfect formation like an escort convoy. At the very end was a mysterious black delivery truck. A huge banner hung along the side of the truck. 3 custom Royal Collection mattresses worth 4 million yuan, delivered exclusively to Mr. Xiao, freshman at Nanfang University. The entire campus stared in disbelief. They're delivering a few mattresses with a Bentley leading the way and 12 Mercedes escorting them? This looks like they're transporting a national treasure. Who spends 4 million yuan on mattresses for college? Is he here to study or just experience how ordinary people live? The convoy finally stopped beneath the men's dormitory. The Bentley doors opened, and more than a dozen muscular men in black suits and white gloves stepped out in perfect order. They quickly formed 2 lines on either side of the truck. Their movements were synchronized. They had clearly received professional training. The regional general manager personally stepped out of the Bentley and raised one hand in command. The suited men shouted in unison. Trust received. Mission guaranteed. Their voices were so loud that students throughout the dorm building rushed outside to watch. I stood in the hallway with a pounding headache. Wasn't this a little excessive? I had only wanted to buy 3 mattresses. How had it turned into a ceremonial entrance for the heir to a wealthy dynasty? When the people below spotted me, they all bowed at once. Good afternoon, Mr. Xiao. The surrounding chatter became even louder. So that's him. I heard he drove a Lamborghini onto campus this morning and spent 1 million yuan to save a girl. Now he's buying 4 million yuan in mattresses. He really treats money like paper. For a moment, I almost wanted to refuse the delivery. Gu Ziyu, however, ran over with excitement all over his face. Boss, the mattresses are here. I'll go down and arrange for them to bring everything up. Fan Tong immediately jumped in. Second brother, how could I let you handle such a trivial job? Stay here and keep boss company. I'll take care of it. Gu Ziyu knew perfectly well that Fan Tong wanted a chance to impress me. Smiling, he said, "You're the youngest. As your older brother, I should look after you. I'll go." The two argued until their faces turned red. I finally lost patience. Both of you, shut up. Go together. 2 of those 3 mattresses are for you anyway. They stopped arguing instantly and raced downstairs as if they had won the lottery. The windows of the women's dorm were packed too. Everyone wanted a look at the mysterious billionaire freshman. Gu Ziyu and Fan Tong puffed out their chests and approached the general manager under everyone's gaze. With solemn expressions, they said, "Our boss wants the mattresses taken to the room and fully made up before you leave." The general manager replied gravely, "Of course, that is our duty." The men in suits immediately opened the truck and carried 3 enormous, beautifully packaged boxes into the dorm. They cleaned each bed first, then neatly arranged the mattresses, sheets, pillows, and comforters. The entire process looked like a military operation. When they were finished, the general manager presented me with a gold-plated business card using both hands. "Mr. Xiao, this is my private number. If you ever need anything, please contact me directly." I forced myself to nod. Understood. The general manager turned and ordered, "All personnel, assemble. Prepare to depart." Every man in a suit bowed to me again. "Goodbye, Mr. Xiao." Then the enormous convoy swept out of the campus. I stared at the completely transformed dorm room and realized that keeping a low profile in the future was probably impossible. After dealing with the mattresses, I finally noticed how hungry I was. Right then, a message from Shinshina appeared on my phone. "Did you really spend 4 million yuan on 3 mattresses?" I replied, "I didn't bring any luggage. If I didn't buy mattresses, was I supposed to sleep on the floor tonight?" She sent a long string of dots, then wrote, "Even rich people need to take care of themselves. Sleep really is important. Are you hungry? Let's go to the cafeteria." "Sure. I'll meet you at entrance 1. Gu Ziyu lay on his new mattress with an expression of pure bliss. "Boss, want to eat off campus? I have memberships at several luxury hotels in the city." I refused immediately. "It's just dinner. There's no reason to go to some luxury hotel. We'll eat at the cafeteria. Having money doesn't mean we should separate ourselves from ordinary students." Gu Ziyu began flattering me at once. "Boss, you really see the bigger picture." My thinking was too shallow. Afraid of being overlooked, Fan Tong hurried to say, "Boss, let me pay for dinner at the cafeteria. I'm not as rich as you two." but I can still afford that much. I laughed. There's no need for either of you to fight over a cafeteria meal. The three of us reached entrance 1 and saw 3 girls waiting in the distance. Shinshina had clearly dressed up for the occasion. She wore a white short-sleeved blouse with a red bow tie and a black skirt that showed off her long, straight legs. As soon as she saw me, she smiled and waved. Xiaoyan, I'm over here. When we approached, Fan Tong saw Shinshina and immediately looked awkward. She recognized him as well and turned to me in confusion. I spread my hands helplessly. Life has a strange sense of humor. He's my roommate. The round-faced girl beside Shinshina spoke first. You're the guy Shina met on the train? She invited you to dinner. So why did you bring your entire dorm? Her name was Tian Tian. She wore a cute dress and spoke with no filter. Guziyu immediately flashed a bright smile. We followed boss here to score a free meal. Shinshina sighed and made the introductions. These are my 2 roommates, Tian Tian and Chozi. Since everyone is already here, let's all eat together. The cafeteria had 2 floors. The first floor served standard set meals. The second was more like a food court, with barbecue, noodles, stir-fries, soups, and every kind of snack. The 6 of us found a table by the window and ordered 8 dishes plus several plates of grilled food. Except for Shinshina and me. Everyone was meeting for the first time, so the mood was awkward at first. Tian Tian soon opened the campus forum and suddenly snapped. This is outrageous. How can so many people gang up on one girl? She held her phone out to Shinshina. The headline of the trending post read, Maybach rich kid abuses his status. Forces poor student to sign 180.000 yuan IOU or face police. Another post had also shot to the top. Mysterious super-rich freshman buys 3 mattresses for 4 million yuan. Luxury convoy delivers them to dorm. The comments were going wild. What is going on with this freshman class? First a Lamborghini rolls onto campus. Then 4 million yuan mattresses show up. The freshman with the Lamborghini is insanely handsome. And he stepped in to help a girl who was being bullied. Compared with him, the Maybach guy is a complete joke. Guziyu and I had become complete opposites. One mysterious rich student idolized by the entire university, and one campus villain everyone mocked. Tian Tian stared excitedly at the blurry photo of the Lamborghini owner. You guys were at the gate around noon too, right? Did you see the guy driving the Lamborghini? Is he handsome in person? I rubbed my chin and deliberately said. I saw him. He looked ordinary. Nothing special. Tian Tian looked deeply disappointed. What a shame. I can't believe I missed him. Guziyu suddenly added. Even if you'd seen him, he might not have paid attention to you. When he got out of the car, there was an incredibly beautiful girl with him. Shinshina and I both choked on our food and started coughing. Tian Tian protested. Was she prettier than me? Guziyu was considering pursuing her, so he did not dare answer too directly. Fan Tong, however, nodded without hesitation. Way prettier. I was there too. Tian Tian looked suspiciously at all 3 of us. What a coincidence. You were all there. Fine, maybe she was prettier than me, but there's no way she was prettier than Shina. Guziyu and Fan Tong immediately nodded again and again. Right. Shina is definitely the prettiest. Shinshina could only lower her head and smile. She was probably regretting not telling her roommate that she herself had been the beautiful girl beside the Lamborghini. The jokes quickly loosened everyone up. Tian Tian was outgoing, and although Guziyu liked to show off, he came from a good family and knew how to keep a conversation going. After clinking soda cups several times, the 2 of them were chatting like old friends. Tian Tian got slightly carried away and started cursing the Maybach bully again. Sitting across from her, Guziyu could only endure the embarrassment and join her in insulting himself. Just as everyone was enjoying the conversation, a male voice came from nearby. Shina, you came to this university too? Shinshina and Tian Tian looked up and greeted him with smiles. Jibo, didn't you apply to another university? What are you doing here? Jibo was one of their high school classmates and another rich young man from a privileged family. He scratched his hair and pretended to be casual. I didn't get accepted there, so I had to come here. I never expected you to be here too. What a coincidence. In reality, it was not a coincidence at all. Tian Tian had always wanted to bring Jibo and Shinshina together. She secretly told him that Shinshina was attending Nanfang University, and he rushed over because of that information. Shinshina introduced everyone. When she reached me, she made a point of saying, "This is Xiaoyan. I met him on the train." The way Jibo looked at me changed immediately. He had clearly decided I was a rival competing for Shinshina's attention. Tian Tian voluntarily gave up her seat. Jibo sit beside Shina. You two haven't seen each other all summer, so you must have a lot to talk about. Fan Tong tactfully moved his chair as well. Jibo sat beside Shinshina without hesitation and spoke gently. Shina, why didn't you tell me you were coming here? If I'd known, I would have taken you to Wanyanju. I have a private room there that ordinary customers can't even reserve. As he spoke, he glanced at the food on the table. How could food from a cafeteria like this possibly suit your taste? On the surface, he sounded concerned about Shinshina. In reality, he was mocking me for taking a girl somewhere so cheap. I did not care much either way. Shinshina was the one treating me, and I was not exactly pursuing her. My phone already held friend requests from dozens of beautiful upperclassmen. There was no reason to fight another man over one girl. Shinshina explained. I invited Xiaoyan today. He helped me carry my luggage on the train, and I only wanted to thank him. Jibo visibly relaxed after hearing that. He reached out to shake my hand. Hello, I'm Jibo, an old friend of Shina's. Let me pay for dinner. Since you're her friend, you're my guest too, I said calmly. You're the local. If you think that's appropriate, go ahead. Tian Tian suddenly stirred the pot. Jibo, Shina doesn't like the food here. She's barely eaten anything. Jibo smiled. That's normal. Shina and I used to eat at high-end restaurants. Of course she isn't used to ordinary cafeteria food like this. He stood and held out a hand to Shinshina. I'll take you to Wanyanju. As for what they ordered, I'll cover their bill. He said it as though he were offering charity. Guziyu was the first to lose his temper. He slammed his spoon onto the table. What exactly are you saying? You eat royal banquets while we eat garbage? Jibo sneered. Isn't that the truth? Do you know how much a single dish costs at Wanyanju? Even the simplest item is several thousand yuan. Compared with that, what else would you call this cafeteria food besides cheap? I was about to tell Guziyu to calm down when the system's warning suddenly rang in my head. Host has been humiliated. Mission requirement. Do not remain silent. Deliver a forceful counterattack. Success reward. 100% ownership of Wanyanju. Failure penalty. Severe constipation. I became furious at once. Not because of Jibo but because the system was threatening me with constipation again. I slapped the table. Just because I have a good temper doesn't mean you can insult people whenever you feel like it. I raised a hand to stop Guziyu from exploding and stared at Jibo. You said the food we're eating is cheap, right? The atmosphere at the table became tense instantly. Tian Tian hurried to defend Jibo Xiaoyan. Don't be so ungrateful. Jibo kindly offered to pay, and you don't have an ounce of manners. I gave a cold laugh. I haven't said one insulting word since he sat down. Who called us poor first? Who said only people without money eat here? And who proudly announced that he would pay no matter how much we ordered? Tian Tian had no answer, but she still tugged on Shinshina's arm and complained. Shina, look at them. How can they be this rude? Shinshina, who had remained silent until then, finally frowned. Tian Tian. Jibo, that's enough. Everyone is meeting for the first time. There's no reason to talk like this. But Tian Tian lifted her chin and looked at us with contempt. I'm only telling the truth. Letting a girl pay for dinner is embarrassing enough. And now they're acting tough too. They're nothing but a bunch of clueless country bumpkins. Guziyu's face darkened, and he rolled up his sleeves. Who are you calling rude? Tian Tian stepped back in fear and hid behind Shinshina. See? He wants to hit me. They really are poor and savage. Jibo stood as well and said arrogantly. You want to fight? Come on. I'm a black belt in Taekwondo. All three of you together couldn't beat me. Fan Tong clenched his fists in anger too. I stopped them again and said in a deep voice. What did I tell you before? Stay calm. Don't start throwing punches every time someone annoys you. Then I turned toward Jibo with a smile at the corner of my mouth. If you think the food here is worthless, then I'm going to eat as much as I can today. Are you sure your wallet can handle it? Jibo laughed loudly. Eat as much as you want. I'll pay the bill today. Good. I glanced around and asked. And if my brothers eat, you're covering them too, right? Jibo swept a contemptuous gaze over us. You mean these few broke losers? Eat whatever you want. The second you hear the word free, your eyes light up. Pathetic. I leaned toward Guziyu and whispered a few instructions into his ear. His eyes lit up. He immediately walked to the center of the cafeteria and shouted at the top of his lungs. Everyone, listen up. Anyone here willing to call Xiaoyan their brother can eat whatever they want today. and young Master Jibo will pay the entire bill. Our argument had already attracted plenty of attention. After that announcement, the entire second floor went silent for 3 seconds. A bold male student cautiously asked, "Seriously? If I call him Brother Xiao, I can eat anything I want today?" Guziyu thumped his chest. 100% true. Young Master Ji just said he would pay for anything Brother Xiao and his brothers eat. The cafeteria erupted in cheers. "Brother Xiao! Brother Xiao! From today on, we're family. Young Master Ji is generous. Long live young Master Ji." Hundreds of students surged toward the food counters, specifically ordering expensive dishes they normally could not afford. Steak, seafood, barbecue, desserts, drinks. They ordered as much as they could carry. Guziyu returned to the stiff-faced Jibo with a brilliant smile. "Brother Ji, after you. We poor people who eat cheap cafeteria food are waiting for you to pick up the check." Jibo ground his teeth. "I said I'd treat the 3 of you, not the entire cafeteria." I spread my hands innocently. "You said you'd pay for my brothers. You never said how many brothers I was allowed to have. Everyone here is willing to call me brother. I can't exactly reject them. And from beginning to end, you were the one insisting on paying. I never forced you." Jibo finally realized he had walked into a trap and became too angry to speak. I told Guziyu, "Go inform every counter that everyone can order whatever they like. Put it all on my tab for now, and we'll settle the final bill with young Master Ji." "Got it, boss." Guziyu hurried off toward the food counters with obvious excitement. The cafeteria staff hesitated at first, but once they heard the tab belonged to Xiao Yan, the mysterious freshman who drove a Lamborghini and spent 4 million yuan on mattresses, the manager immediately agreed to keep the account open. Once the students realized it was real, they attacked the most expensive dishes like starving wolves. Within a short time, several counters had sold out of their premium items, yet long lines remained behind them. Jibo's gaze grew colder and colder. He calculated that once everyone finished eating, he could simply refuse to pay. The cafeteria would then come after me for the debt, and all responsibility for this mess would land on my shoulders. Tian pointed at me and shouted, "You're shameless. Jibo kindly offered to buy you dinner, and you deliberately set him up. We are absolutely not paying these bills." Guziyu finally snapped back. "Have you spent so much time online that your brain stopped working? Who started pretending to be rich? Who called the cafeteria food cheap? Who said we could order as much as we wanted and he would pay for everything? Now that the bill is expensive, you're suddenly backing out." Then he deliberately copied the smug tone of a livestream influencer. "What do you mean? Expensive? That's always been the price. The cafeteria workers have bills to pay too. Maybe look at yourself first. Have you worked hard enough all these years? If you're broke, get a job instead of running around pretending you're rich." Laughter burst out all around us. Tian's face turned bright red, but she could not come up with a single response. Jibo suddenly sneered. "Fine. If the 3 of you kneel and beg me now, maybe I'll still pay. Otherwise, I'm walking out and leaving you with every bill. Especially you." He pointed at me. "Slap yourself 10 times. Then kneel and beg. I'll settle the bill for you. Otherwise, broke losers like you could work your entire lives and still never pay it off." Jibo estimated that today's total would be at least several 100,000 yuan. Even for him, that was not a small amount. He had never planned to pay in the first place. He only wanted to use the situation to force me to lower my head publicly and restore his pride. Tian agreed excitedly. "Exactly. Don't let them off easily. They need to learn a lesson." I looked at the 2 of them, my voice still calm. "Are you really a rich young master? You've been whining this whole time over such a small amount of money." Jibo's expression darkened. "What did you say? You're already finished, and you're still talking tough. Aren't you afraid I'll leave right now?" I opened my arms. "Then leave. Who needs your few 100,000 yuan?" Jibo reacted as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. "Do you even understand what a few 100,000 yuan means? You say it so casually. If you can actually pay this bill, I'll eat something disgusting in front of everyone." My eyes lit up, and I immediately looked at Guziyu. "Did you record that?" Guziyu raised his phone and made an OK sign. "Don't worry, boss. I recorded everything from beginning to end. I'll post it in the campus group when we get back to the dorm." Jibo's breathing caught. I cleared my throat. "You said it yourself. I didn't put a knife to your neck. Once I pay the bill, don't try to back out." Jibo still believed I was a poor student relying on Shinshina to buy my meal. In his mind, There was no way I could produce that much money. Gritting his teeth, he added another condition. If you can settle the bill, I'll not only do what I just promised, I'll kneel in front of you and call you Dad. I frowned and said seriously, how can you talk like that? I already said everyone here is my brother. If we're brothers, how can you casually go around calling someone else Dad? The crowd roared with laughter again. I looked at Jibo and could not help sighing. Some people in this world simply loved making things harder for themselves. He could have left quietly, but instead he insisted on kneeling and calling me Dad. Since he was so determined to show his devotion, it would have been rude of me to refuse. I raised a hand toward the cafeteria manager standing nearby. Could you calculate how much everyone has spent today? The manager had been waiting at the side. He looked down at his tablet, and even his voice trembled. Student Chow, including every counter on the second floor, the beverage area, and the dessert section. The current total is 628.700 yuan. Gasps sounded all around us. More than 600,000? Didn't Jibo say it would only be a few 100,000? Well, technically, it is a few 100,000. Why did his face turn white? Jibo forced out a sneer. More than 600,000 yuan. Do you think that's 600? If you could afford it, why did you let a girl buy your dinner in the first place? Tian seized on his words as if they were a lifeline. Exactly. He's obviously stalling. Manager, you should call the police right now before he runs off without paying. Shinshina frowned. Tian, can you stop talking for once? I'm trying to help you. Tian said urgently. What can a man like this do besides brag? Don't let him fool you. I ignored her and took a bank card from my wallet. Charge it. The cafeteria manager froze. Student Chow, are you sure you want to pay the entire amount at once? Of course. I looked around at the nervous students holding their trays. Keep eating. Order more if you don't have enough. The crowd erupted in cheers. Brother Xiao is the best. Anyone who badmouths Brother Xiao from now on has a problem with me. Brother Xiao, do you need a long-lost brother from another mother? The cafeteria manager hurried over with the card terminal. Jibo stared fixedly at the bank card in my hand, a mocking curl still on his lips. You're putting on a convincing show. Let's see whether you can keep smiling after the card gets declined. I entered my PIN. A second later, the terminal gave a crisp chime. Transaction approved. The full 628.700 yuan went through. The entire cafeteria fell silent for 1 second. Then the cheers nearly lifted the roof. He actually paid it. More than 600,000. And he didn't even blink. Young Master G, get ready to kneel and call him Dad. It's all on video, so don't even think about backing out. Every trace of color drained from Jibo's face. Tian stood with her mouth open, unable to make a sound. I put away my bank card and looked calmly at Jibo. The bill is paid. Now it's time for you to keep your promise. Jibo took a sharp step backward. You must have used a credit card. I nodded. Yes. Bank cards generally come with credit functions. You borrowed that money. Whether I borrowed it or not. What does that have to do with you? You. Jibo had no answer. At that moment, the system finally chimed. Mission complete. The host has successfully delivered a forceful counterattack against the person who humiliated him. Mission reward. 100% ownership of Wanyanju. All relevant equity, assets, and management authority have been transferred. I blinked in surprise. Wanyanju? Wasn't that the high-end restaurant Jibo had been bragging about over and over? Could the timing possibly be any more perfect? My phone rang almost immediately. The caller ID showed an unfamiliar number. I answered, and a respectful voice came through at once. May I speak with Mr. Xiaoyan? This is Xiaoyan. Chairman Xiao. Hello. My name is Zhou Jingtao, General Manager of Wanyanju Group. The equity transfer has been completed. Effective immediately. You own 100% of Wanyanju and are the group's sole shareholder. He was speaking loudly enough that Jibo standing beside me heard every word. His body swayed, and he nearly fell. Tian shouted. It's fake. He must have arranged for someone to act this out beforehand. A normal equity transfer could never happen that fast. I thought it was fast too, but the system had never cared about logic. It only cared about efficiency. Zhou Jingtao had clearly heard Tian through the phone. He immediately asked, Chairman Xiao, is there a student with the surname Ji near you? I glanced at Jibo. Yes. Zhou Jingtao's tone suddenly turned cold. Chairman, while reviewing the group's client records, I discovered that the Ji family once applied for a private room at Wanyanju. However, it was only a temporary usage privilege, and it expired 3 months ago. In addition, a company owned by the Ji family still has 1.87 million yuan in unpaid charges at Wanyanju. We have attempted collection several times, but they have consistently refused to pay. How would you like us to handle the matter? The students around us immediately began whispering. So his so-called private room expired months ago. His family owes the restaurant more than 1 million yuan. And he still had the nerve to mock people for eating in the cafeteria? Young Master Ji isn't rich. He's just shameless. Jibo panicked. That's nonsense. My father has a very good relationship with your owner. Zhou Jingtao replied coldly. The previous owner has withdrawn from the group. Wanyanju now has only one owner, Chairman Xiaoyan. I thought for a moment. Pursue the debt through normal procedures. If there is evidence of deliberate debt evasion, file a lawsuit. Understood. One more thing. Cancel every Wanyanju membership held by the Ji family. Yes, sir. I'll take care of it immediately. I ended the call. Jibo's face had turned a deep, ugly purple. He had probably never imagined that the luxury restaurant he had spent so long boasting about would become my property in the blink of an eye. Even less had he expected his family's unpaid debt to be exposed in front of students from across the university. Gu Ziyu smiled and switched on his phone camera. Young Master Ji, don't change the subject. Everyone is still waiting for you to keep your promise. Fan Tong stepped behind Jibo as well. Aren't you a Taekwondo black belt? Don't tell me your legs are too weak to kneel. Jibo roared. Get out of my way. Anyone who tries to stop me will have to answer to my father. I shook my head. You still don't understand. Your biggest mistake isn't that you lack money or that you can't accept losing. It's that you always assume you can use your family to bully other people. I pointed toward the phones surrounding us. Every word you said has already been recorded. You can leave. But from today on, the entire university will know that the young master of the Ji family is a liar who refuses to keep his word. The students immediately began chanting. A bet is a bet. Kneel. Call him dad. Don't tell us young Master Ji can't take a loss. Jibo stood there while the muscles in his face twitched. He wanted to leave, but the cafeteria entrance was packed with people watching the show. He wanted to lash out, but he did not actually dare start a fight. A few seconds later, he finally gritted his teeth and slowly bent his knees. Thud. Jibo knelt in front of me. The cafeteria erupted in even louder cheers. His fists were clenched tight. With his head lowered, he forced one word through gritted teeth. Dad. I frowned. Too quiet. I didn't hear you. Jibo jerked his head up. Don't push it. Gu Ziyu waved his phone. The audio on the video is bad. It genuinely didn't pick that up clearly. Fan Tong nodded with a serious expression. I didn't hear it either. Hundreds of students shouted at the same time. We didn't hear it. Jibo trembled with rage. But he was already on his knees. And there was no point resisting any longer. He closed his eyes and shouted with nearly all the strength in his body. Dad. The entire cafeteria lost it. I stepped back with a disgusted expression. Don't call me that. I don't have a son as old as you. Jibo's eyes flew open, and he nearly coughed up blood on the spot. Tian Tian pointed at me and screamed. Xiaoyan, you're humiliating him on purpose. So what if you have a little money? Shinshina suddenly stood up. For the first time, there was no smile in her eyes when she looked at Tian Tian. Enough. Tian Tian froze. Shina, I'm speaking up for you. You have never been speaking up for me. Shinshina said coldly. In high school, I clearly told you that I didn't like Jibo. You still secretly told him which university I had chosen and even encouraged him to follow me to Nanfang University. Jibo's expression changed. He clearly had not realized that Shinshina already knew. Tian Tian explained in a panic. I only thought the two of you were a good match. That was what you thought, not what I thought. Shinshina pulled her arm away from Tian Tian's grasp. During dinner, you kept belittling Xiaoyan and his roommates. You also made me sound like some vain woman who only likes luxury restaurants and looks down on the cafeteria. You aren't my friend. You only want to control my choices. Tian Tian's face went pale. Shina, when we return to the dorm, I'm applying for a room change. After saying that, Shinshina walked directly to my side. Her position could not have been clearer. Jibo finally lost control. Shinshina, I've pursued you for years, and you're treating me like this for a man you just met? Shinshina looked at him calmly. It's precisely because I've known you for so long that I know I will never like you. That sentence hit him even harder than being forced to call me dad. Jibo swayed. His eyes filled with resentment. Just as he was about to keep arguing, his phone rang. The moment he saw the caller ID, he answered as if he had found his last lifeline. "Dad!" A man's furious roar immediately came through the phone. "Who did you offend at that university? Orowan Group just suspended every partnership with us and sent an audit team to investigate our previous supply contracts. Wanyanju also sent the company a legal demand requiring us to repay 1.87 million yuan immediately. The bank is about to freeze our corporate accounts." Jibo's face turned deathly pale. "Orowan Group? What does that have to do with me?" At that exact moment, another phone in my pocket rang. It was a dedicated phone the group secretary had just delivered after the system transferred Orowan Group's shares to me. I answered. "Good evening, Chairman Xiao," the president of Orowan Group said respectfully. "Our investigation has discovered serious quality problems with products supplied by Qi Corporation. Some inspection reports are suspected of being falsified. We have transferred the relevant evidence to the market supervision authorities. Would you like the group to continue pursuing the matter?" I looked at Jibo. "If they broke the law, pursue it to the end." "Understood." Jibo stared at me blankly. What is your relationship with Orowan Group?" Before I could answer, Guziyu spoke for me. "Are you stupid? My boss owns 100% of Orowan Group. What do you think his relationship is?" The crowd exploded again. "Orowan Group belongs to Brother Xiao too? He drives a Lamborghini, owns Wanyanju, and he's the sole shareholder of Orowan Group?" Jibo actually thought someone like that was poor? The biggest joke today isn't that he knelt. It's that he never knew who he was insulting from start to finish. Jibo's phone slipped from his hand and hit the floor. His father was still shouting from the other end. "Apologize to him immediately. No matter what he asks you to do. You agree? If the company collapses, you won't even have spending money anymore." Jibo finally panicked completely. He dropped to his knees in front of me again, this time infinitely faster than before. "Xiao Yan.no. Young Master Xiao. Chairman Xiao. I was wrong. I shouldn't have looked down on you or insulted your friends. Please spare my family." I looked down at him. "You're begging the wrong person. Your family's company isn't being investigated because you offended me. It's being investigated because it broke the law. If everyone could make a mistake, kneel down, beg, and then pretend nothing happened, what would be the point of having laws?" Jibo's expression collapsed completely. The cafeteria manager had already contacted campus security. Several faculty members and guards soon arrived and escorted Jibo and the still shouting Tian Tian out of the cafeteria. Jibo kept begging as they took him away, but this time no one felt sorry for him. The cafeteria quickly became lively again. Students came over one after another, raising their drinks to toast me. "Boss, call me anytime you need something. I'm going to tell this story for all 4 years of college. Brother Xiao, are you still looking for a girlfriend?" The instant the last question came out, Shinshina gave a soft cough. The girl who had asked glanced at her, immediately took the hint, and walked away. Once the crowd gradually dispersed, Shinshina sat beside me and asked quietly, "How many more things are you hiding from me?" I thought about it seriously. "Would you believe me if I said I only found out about them today too?" She stared at me for a few seconds. "I wouldn't have believed you before. And now? I still don't believe you." I could not help laughing. Her cheeks flushed slightly, and she added in a softer voice, "Still, thank you." "For what?" "For not blaming me because of Tian Tian and Jibo." I shook my head. "You are you. They are them." Shinshina was silent for a moment, then suddenly looked up at me. "Earlier, when you said you weren't really pursuing me, was that true?" I froze. How did women always remember the most important sentence at the strangest possible moment? Before I could decide how to answer, she deliberately turned her head away. "Forget it. You have dozens of pretty upperclassmen in your phone. Of course you wouldn't be interested in me." Her tone was casual, but the disappointment in her eyes was obvious. I reached out and gently caught her wrist. "I honestly had no intention of pursuing you before." Shinshina's body stiffened slightly. I continued, "But now I do." She whipped her head around. The disappointment vanished from her face, replaced by a smile she could not suppress. "Only a little. A little. For now." She stepped on my foot. "Then take your time pursuing me." With that, she pulled her hand away and hurried toward the cafeteria exit. After walking several meters, she turned back and called, "Xiaoyan, aren't you coming?" I smiled and chased after her. As we left the cafeteria, the system chimed again. Current spending mission progress. 5.628.700 yuan. Time remaining. 2 days. 13 hours. Amount still required. 4.371.300 yuan. My head started hurting immediately. One problem had barely been solved before another appeared. What was I supposed to buy with more than 4 million yuan? The next day, Shinshino walked with me near the university. When we passed a lakeside villa development, a sales consultant enthusiastically handed us a brochure. Students, these are fully furnished Lakeview villas only 10 minutes from campus. Our smallest model is 420 square meters and costs 4.68 million yuan. I stopped walking. 4,680,000 yuan? How could there possibly be a price that fit my needs so perfectly? Shinshina noticed my expression and quickly grabbed me. Don't tell me you're planning to buy a house just because we happen to walk past it. I need somewhere to live during 4 years of college. The university has dormitories. The dorm is too crowded. It isn't convenient for studying. Fantong and Guziyu, walking behind us, both froze. The three of us had stayed up gaming in the dorm until 3 in the morning the previous night. How could I say with a straight face that the dorm was inconvenient for studying? But they recovered quickly. Guziyu nodded at once. Boss is right. We really have been seriously interfering with his studies. Fantong spoke with equal seriousness. For the sake of boss's education, he absolutely needs to buy a villa. Shinshina looked at the three of us helplessly. Can any of you act normal? I did not hesitate. I followed the sales consultant directly into the sales center. Half an hour later, the full payment went through. The villa was registered in my personal name, and all paperwork was completed that same day. Spending mission complete. Mission reward: 50 million yuan in cash. Bonus reward: 1 private estate on an island in the center of the lake. System upgraded to version 3.0. New feature unlocked: industrial investment rebates. Each time the host completes a high-quality industrial investment, the host will receive a rebate at a random multiplier. I stood in the living room of my newly purchased villa without speaking for a long time. After I spent a little over 4 million yuan, the system gave me 50 million yuan back and added a private estate. Was it forcing me to spend money? Or forcing me to become the richest man in the world? Shinshina stood before the floor-to-ceiling windows and looked out at the lake. This place really is beautiful. I walked to her side. There are several rooms upstairs. You can choose one. She turned to look at me. Are you inviting me to move in? I only said you could choose a room. I didn't say you could live here. Then I won't choose one. She deliberately turned away. I immediately corrected myself. You can live here. In what capacity? I had no answer. Fantong and Guziyu stood in the distance, trying very hard to pretend they did not exist. Shinshina waited several seconds. When I still did not respond, the corner of her mouth secretly curved upward. Since you're this hopeless, I'll give you one chance. She stepped closer and tilted her face up toward me. Xiaoyan, will you be my boyfriend? I stared at her for 2 seconds. Wasn't I supposed to be the one who said that? If I waited for you to ask, who knows how long it would take? She reached out and lightly caught the edge of my shirt. The gesture reminded me of when we had first met. She had dragged her suitcase after me and insisted on riding in my car to the university. Back then, I had only found her troublesome. Now, I thought she looked especially beautiful holding onto my shirt like that. I reached out and pulled her into my arms. Yes. She leaned against me, her cheeks bright red, but she did not struggle. 2 cheers suddenly came from behind us. Hello, future sister-in-law. Boss finally figured it out. Startled, Shinshina immediately pulled away from my arms. I turned and gave the 2 men a cold look. Didn't you leave? Guziyu answered with a perfectly serious expression. We were going to, but we were worried that boss had never dated before and wouldn't know how to confess. Fantong held up his phone. Don't worry, boss. I recorded the entire thing. You can play it at your wedding someday. Delete it. No. Say that again. Deleting it right now. 1 month later, regulators shut down G Corporation for falsified inspection reports, commercial fraud, and deliberate non-payment of debts. Jibo's father not only lost the company but also became the subject of a criminal investigation. Seeking revenge, Jibo tried to scratch my Lamborghini in the middle of the night, but the parking garage cameras captured everything clearly. In the end, the university expelled him, and he was held responsible for the vehicle repairs as well as the criminal consequences. Tian spread rumors on the campus forum, claiming that I had acquired all my businesses through illegal means. The legal departments of Wanyanju and Orwan Group both sent her formal legal notices. Her parents rushed to the university and forced her to make a public apology in front of the faculty and her entire class. Not long afterward, she withdrew from the university and never appeared before us again. As for Gu Ziyu, he voluntarily found Yashur and admitted that his original demand for 180,000 yuan had been deliberate extortion. He not only apologized publicly but also compensated her for the emotional harm he had caused. He still liked to show off from time to time, but at least he no longer used his family's status to bully people. Fan Tong, meanwhile, became my #1 follower. Whenever someone said something bad about me on the campus forum, he was always the first to charge into the comments and argue with them for hundreds of replies. By the end of our first college semester, Overone Group had completed a comprehensive restructuring. Using the system's investment rebate feature, I acquired several companies that were on the verge of bankruptcy but still possessed core technologies. Within 6 months, the group's market value increased tenfold. At my direction, Wanyanju also introduced affordable student meal packages and opened branches near major universities across China. Dishes that ordinary students once could not afford now cost only a few dozen yuan. The decision put me in the financial news and earned me genuine recognition from both the group's employees and its customers. I was no longer merely a lucky man who had suddenly received an enormous fortune. I began studying management, investment, and business. The system could give me money, but it could not make every decision for me. I wanted to prove that even without the system's mandatory missions, I had the ability to protect everything I had gained. 1 year later, I returned to the university auditorium for the anniversary celebration as chairman of Overone Group. The university president personally announced that Overone Group would fund a new scientific research center and provide long-term scholarships for students from low-income families. After the ceremony, countless reporters crowded around the entrance. Chairman Zhao, why did you choose to start a business while still in college? Some people say you are the youngest person in China with a fortune exceeding 10 billion yuan. Is that true? Do you plan to enter the new energy vehicle industry in the future? Before I could answer, Chinchina walked through the crowd. She wore a long white dress and smiled as she linked her arm through mine. The reporters immediately shifted their attention. Miss Shin, what is your relationship with Chairman Zhao? Chinchina glanced at me. I'm his girlfriend. Another reporter asked. Some people online say you are only with him because of his identity and wealth. How do you respond? Chinchina did not get angry. She only smiled. When I met him, he wouldn't even let me put my luggage in his car's trunk. I could not resist correcting her. It wasn't that I wouldn't. It genuinely didn't fit. Is that why you later bought me such a huge walk-in closet? You asked for that yourself. I only said I had too many clothes. I never told you to buy an entire house. Every reporter around us laughed. Chinchina leaned closer and lowered her voice. Undermine my story one more time, and you're sleeping in the guest room tonight. I immediately stopped talking. Satisfied, she held my arm more tightly. In the distance, Lin Wanqing leaned against the red Ferrari and waved at me. Ever since she learned that I was the driver of the black Lamborghini who had defeated her that day, she had challenged me to more than a dozen races. Unfortunately for her, she had never won once. Fan Tong and Gu Ziyu stood on the other side wearing suits as members of the group's management team, speaking seriously with university officials. Who could have imagined that the two men who had knelt in the dorm and begged to call me boss during our first days on campus would become the youngest project directors at Overone Group? That night, I brought Chinchina back to the private estate on the island in the center of the lake. She stood at the edge of the terrace, looking at the distant lights, and suddenly asked, Xiaoyan, would you say you've reached the top of the world now? I wrapped my arms around her from behind. Not quite. She leaned back against me. What's missing? I took a ring from my pocket. Chinchina's entire body went still. I lowered myself onto one knee and looked up at her. I'm missing someone willing to walk beside me for the rest of the journey. She covered her mouth, and her eyes slowly filled with tears. Didn't you say you were terrible at romantic lines? I practiced for 3 months. When did you buy the ring? The system won't let me tell you the price. I didn't ask about the price. I cleared my throat softly. So, will you marry me? She deliberately remained silent for several seconds. Just as I began to feel nervous, she suddenly held out her hand. Yes. I slipped the ring onto her finger. Chinchina threw herself into my arms and held me tightly. At that moment, the system's long silent voice rang out again. The host is about to enter a new stage of life. Final mission issued. Spend 10 billion yuan responsibly within 1 year. Mission reward. Unknown. Failure penalty. Lifelong severe constipation. The smile on my face froze instantly. Shinshina looked up in confusion. What's wrong? I looked at the fiancé in my arms. Then at the private estate beneath our feet. Worth several billion yuan. Nothing. I was only thinking that maybe our wedding should be a little more extravagant. Shinshina smiled and wrapped her arms around my neck. How extravagant? I answered seriously. 10 billion yuan extravagant. She stared at me for 2 seconds. Then reached up and pinched my cheek. Xiaoyan, have you lost your mind again? I lifted her into my arms and carried her toward the bedroom while she cried out in surprise. Under the night sky, the entire estate glowed with light. Once, all I had wanted was to be an ordinary college student. Now, I had a vast business empire, brothers who truly trusted me, and a woman willing to share the rest of her life with me. As for the system's new mission, that was tomorrow's problem. At least for tonight. I had the woman I loved in my arms and stood at the peak of life. And my legend was only beginning.